Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Marty Ross, and this is another Conversations with Marty Ross MD. This is a Lyme disease webinar. Every week you create them with your questions, so I'm interested in seeing what you have in store for me tonight. We were off last week, and I look forward to being here with you this week. So we'll see how this goes tonight in terms of whether we get into a theme or not. So for those of you that are here again, welcome back. I'm glad to see a number of names that I have seen participating here before. I'm glad to see you keep getting value. And if you are getting value, I'd appreciate if you would share this with other people you know that have Lyme disease or family members that have Lyme disease so it can keep helping as many people as possible. So I'd appreciate if you'd share the emails I send out and whether it's for announcing the webinar or the recording. Thank you for doing that in advance. For those of you that are new, welcome here. And the way you participate is two things. Number one, you can listen to the other people's questions and the responses I give, or you can actually write a question yourself. And the way that you do that is over here on the bottom side, right-hand side of the screen over there. You want to write your question to me. The thing I ask is that you only click the enter key when the whole question is done. Each time that you click that enter key, it sends a separate question my direction. So it makes it easier for me to manage things if I only have it all together as one piece rather than having to hunt around for multiple pieces of those questions. The second thing that I'd ask is that you try to keep your questions as brief as possible. If questions get to be very long, I'm not able to answer them because actually as I try to post them, they will freeze up my computer and then I have to stop the webinar, okay? So if it looks like it's a really long question, I'm not going to answer it. So try to be as brief as possible with your questions. This format works better for shorter questions. Keep in mind, although for those of you that are participating here in the live version, you're going to get to see the questions posted on your screen so you can read them. Many people actually participate in the recorded version, and the recorded version does not include those written questions. So it's easier for people to follow a brief question than it is a long question. All right. Tomorrow morning, you will get an email from me somewhere probably around 9 to 9:30 a.m. Seattle Standard Time. That's a Pacific Standard Time. And an email will include information on how to sign up for the next webinar, which is next week. It will also include information about the recording and announcing that the recording is ready and that you can go ahead and view it. Now, if you happen not to get that email, there's a number of places you can find the recording. Number one, you can find it on the homepage of my supplement store, which is Marty Ross MD Supplements. That's at treatlyme.com. The other place you can find it is on the front page and also on the webinars page at my Lyme disease information site, which is Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD, and that's at treatlyme.net. And finally, you can find it on the homepage of martyrossmd.com, which is my practice website. I am no longer posting information to Facebook. I actually have stopped being a member of Facebook kind of as concern over Mr. Zuckerberg's promoting and not invalid truths around our president. So I've decided I've had enough. He seems to, so Facebook has tried to limit my ability to spread information about Lyme disease, claiming all kinds of things. And yet they have been allowing some of the untruths to be put out by our president. So I decided enough is enough, and I have withdrawn myself from Facebook. So you won't find these on Facebook anymore, okay? And with that, I think that's all the background information we have. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to post the first question. Hello, Luke. Hey, Dr. Ross. I've been treating since February with an LLMD. I was making progress, then hit a roadblock. I'm not sure what's happening. Could be a herx, side effects, getting worse. I'm currently taking Zithromax, Malarone, Biocidin, and 50 milligrams of disulfiram. I think the DSF, everyone, is disulfiram. My main symptoms are intermittent anxiety. My neck pops like my knee, not crunch, but pops. Fluorescent light sensitivity. I feel drunk in fluorescent lighting. Is this a common complaint? I have a current IFA positive Babesia decani and slightly positive immuno-Lyme. Okay, so Luke, bear with me just a minute. I want to try to read back through this again. Let's see. My main symptoms are anxiety, neck pops like my knee, not crunch, but pops, fluorescent light sensitive. I feel drunken, fluorescent lighting. Is this a common complaint? Okay. So what would be helpful for me to know, I'm not going to be able to give you the fullest response here because I need to know, to answer this, I would need to know a number of things, including when you say you hit a roadblock, does that mean you've actually gone backwards? Does it mean that you developed new symptoms, or does it mean that you're just not improving any further? Okay. So if it's that you've developed new symptoms, including neurologic sensitivities, that could be something that has occurred from the disulfiram if you have recently added it. So disulfiram, everyone, is a drug also known as antabuse that was originally designed to treat alcoholics, but based on some petri dish experiments that came to us out of Stanford University about 2 years ago now, it looks like it can treat a form of Lyme, which is called persister Lyme. So we now know that Lyme has growing forms and what are called persister forms. Persister forms are forms of the germ that basically stop growing, they go into hibernation, and they ignore antibiotics. Disulfiram, which has been previously is used to treat alcoholics, has been shown to help with these persister forms. Okay, the trouble is disulfiram sometimes can lead to neurologic issues, including numbness, sometimes nerve pain, but can sometimes elicit and cause neurologic side effects like sound sensitivities, light sensitivities, smell sensitivities. Okay, so I would need to know in terms of ideas for you. In terms of how to turn this around, I would need to know when you add the disulfiram and were you having similar symptoms before then. All right. In terms of light sensitivity, also, if it wasn't related to disulfiram, sometimes we can see these kind of fluorescent light sensitivities and feeling drunk when you have Lyme, or also when you have Bartonella in you. Those are some possibilities to think of too. Okay. Anyhow, I need to ask you a lot more questions to give you a specific answer, and obviously this format doesn't allow for it. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Luke. Thank you. Hello, Rennie. Let's see. I have a friend who has a positive PCR for Bartonella and rickettsia. What do you know about rickettsia? Thanks a lot. So rickettsia is a type of spirochete that generally responds to tetracyclines. It can, I think it's generally well responsive to tetracyclines. So usually my experience is by being on a doxycycline or a minocycline for around a month, rickettsia will clear up. It can give similar symptoms that you get with Lyme disease. So it can give body pains, can give temperatures, can give fatigue, but typically within about 1 month of treating it, people are going to get better. Okay, that's what I got for you. All right, thanks for your question, Remy. Hello, Kelly. Thanks for all you do, Dr. Ross. You're welcome, and hope you're staying safe. I am. Thank you. I'm treating Babesia, but have flare-ups every 22 to 25 days, it seems. You suggested it's actually the Lyme germ on one of your webinars that's causing these flare-ups. I'm treating now with Malarone and Bactrim for Babesia, but what would you add in to also help break these Lyme flare-up cycles? I'm on all sorts of supplements, biofilm busters, a few herbs, and just added biocide and LSF, but would love to get out of this Lyme cycle and get rid of it for good. Thanks in advance. All right. So Kelly, well, first of all, I think you need to be on antibiotics that are going to, herbal or prescription antibiotics that are going to treat the Lyme. It would be useful if I could know what you've tried for the Lyme germ before. In terms of some things that you could add that would also complement your Babesia treatment, one thing you could look at doing would be to add either doxycyline, 100 milligrams twice a day, or minocycline, 100 milligrams twice a day, or clarithromycin, 500 milligrams twice a day. If you were to add those, you could probably stop the Bactrim. Any of those antibiotics that I just mentioned treat for spirochete Lyme, and they also treat Lyme that lives inside of cells, okay? In addition to treating for spirochete Lyme, I like to design treatments where people treat for the cyst form of the Lyme germ. And things that can treat the cyst form include grapefruit seed extract, which is an herb, 250 milligrams 2 times a day. And that would be something very easy to add into this treatment, okay? Other things you could add would be tinidazole. Typical adult is going to be 500 milligrams twice a day or 500 milligrams 3 times a day, depending on what you weigh. Usually people weighing between 100 and 150 pounds are going to be on 500 milligrams twice a day. Tinidazole is probably one of our strongest cyst busters for Lyme. It does have some GI side effects and rarely can give some neuropathy as well too, okay? If you use tinidazole, usually the way I'll use that is 4 days on, 3 days off. It can be kind of a harsh drug, and so I usually like to give people a little bit of a break after being on it for 3 days. Grapefruit seed extract you can use continuously. In addition, I would do things to break up biofilm, and what you could use for the biofilm is that biocidin can break up biofilm, and the biocidin LSF is a form of biocidin that is absorbed easily into the bloodstream. LSF means it's a liposomal variety. Biocidin, everyone, is an herbal compound that has a multitude of herbs in it that have been shown collectively to break up biofilm. They also seem to decrease antibiotic resistance in the Lyme germs, at least on Petri dish experiments, and they can outright kill Lyme by themselves too. I usually use it more as a biofilm buster. Occasionally I use it as a single agent for Lyme, but with what you're describing here, I'd probably want to use one of the prescriptions I just mentioned, along with something to break up the cyst, probably the grapefruit seed extract. And in addition, you could use a biocidin LSF, working up to 2 pumps of that 3 times a day. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Dr. Ross, and thank you. What do you suggest as far as an herb or supplement to police your system when you have finished up treatment with Bartonella? I'm about 90% better with the occasional heel pain now and then, but not as often. So I'm off the rifampin, still on Bactrim, but have moved to Babesia treatments as I'm showing slight signs of that. But looking to keep Bartonella at bay, what would you recommend? Thanks. So first of all, I think in my experience, what I find when I treat Bartonella is if you treat for at least 4 to 6 months, usually 6 months is best, with a combination of 2 prescription antibiotics that get inside of cells, like rifampin and like Bactrim, those 2 together would be an effective treatment. Generally, you're going to wipe out Bartonella and it's not going to come back about 90% of the time. Okay, so I just want to make that comment. I don't know how long you were on them for, but if you had good improvement and you were on them for at least 6 months, you may not have to worry about Bartonella coming back ever again. Okay. If, however, you want to do something to prevent that from happening, if you want to police the environment, the Bactrim may help to a degree. And in addition, if I were to add one herb, I probably would add Houttuynia. And that's Houttuinia. Houttuynia is an herb that is effective against Bartonella. It's a preventive dose. Normally, as a treating dose, I'm going to work up to 30 drops of it twice a day. And I usually like to combine it with the herb Sitta acuta, working up to about a half teaspoon 3 times a day on that one. Okay. However, If you are just using something to try to prevent recurrence, and if you're on the Bactrim, I probably would just recommend using the Hootenea alone. If you are my patient, that's what I'd probably recommend is Hootenea alone. But I would work towards a dose of it that is 15 drops twice a day instead of the 30 drops twice a day that I use when I'm using it as a full-on treatment. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Kelly. For those of you that are wanting to know how do you treat Bartonella, I'm just going to do a quick screen share here. All right, so this is my Lyme disease information site, Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD. And as many of you know, I have a whole bunch of stuff under the online Lyme guide. If you're having questions about most things related to Lyme, I probably have written about it, okay? So take a look in my infection treatment plan section here. And for treatment ideas that I have about Bartonella, take a look at this article called Kills Bartonella, a Brief Guide. All right, and in here I outline different types of treatments you can use, including the rifamycin, rifampin-based treatment that includes using the Bactrim that I just talked about, okay? There's other ideas there as well, too. All right. Good luck to you, Kelly. Thanks for the question. Hello, Isa. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. A rapid fire session for you. We'll see how rapid it is. Let's see. Buhner recommends L-arginine to protect the endothelial cells. Is this something you have found to be beneficial? No, I have not found. I mean, I know he recommends it. It is something that I have not necessarily seen great benefit from. And see, if a full capsule of certain supplements like HMF Forte, Meriva, curcumin, and Saccharomyces boulardii aren't tolerated, is it an option to take the contents of half a capsule? Yes, it is okay to decrease to a level that you can tolerate on those. And half a capsule is fine. You can actually open it up and sprinkle it across things if you need to. In your experience, is it possible for someone with lots of GI issues and sensitivities to build up tolerance to supplements? Not any more than anyone else. Would you expect someone to notice a reduction in a herx from taking trifortified glutathione, or does it have more of a background benefit? It can do both. It can have the liposomal glutathione, which is which is what trifortify is. The liposomal form of glutathione, the reason liposomal means it's microscopically wrapped in fat to increase absorption. Glutathione is an extremely powerful antioxidant that is manufactured in every one of our cells and is meant to fix cell damage from the inside. In addition, it decreases oxidizing agents that can trigger cytokine production, okay? It also supports the liver in removing toxins. So in an acute herx, it can lower oxidizing agents that trigger cytokines to be made. In addition, it can clear out toxins from dead germs that also continue to that act as a signal for cytokine production as well too, okay? So it can be useful at breaking a herx. In addition, if you're on it already and you make a change in medicines that could lead to a herx, it may prevent them by blocking down the production of those cytokines, okay? Let's see, I haven't been able to find Ecolonia cava. Do you recommend a particular brand or know where I can find it? I'm in Canada. I'm not clear what is made in Canada on that one. Let's see, are tinctures more potent when taken on an empty stomach? Is it important to take them away from other medications? Thank you. So in general, probably herbal tinctures are going to be better absorbed if you are on an empty stomach. However, there are times it's just impossible to do that because you have to take so many other supplements, or because you have an upset stomach and you need to take them with food. But ideally, probably on an empty stomach would be best. Okay. All right. Thanks for that question. Good luck to you. Hi, Doc. A few years back, my iodine level was slightly low, but all mainstream thyroid blood work was normal. Should I be supplementing with a special iodine supplement or digging deeper into thyroid issues with a non-traditional thyroid testing, perhaps? Heard regular labs for thyroid are not showing the real picture. Do you know what labs are better? Thank you for everything, Lisa. So, Lisa, I've written a very extensive article about this, and I'll show it to you at the end. It includes a rationale of how you proceed, okay? But I want to talk about thyroid testing. And so most doctors, when they're looking at thyroid, they're going to pay attention to two things. They're going to pay attention to something called thyroid stimulating hormone, which is called TSH. And they're also going to pay attention to the level of one of the thyroid hormones that are made by the thyroid gland, which is called T4. Okay. So the brain has an area called the hypothalamus pituitary that regulates thyroid level, and it releases this chemical called thyroid stimulating hormone that it uses to tell the thyroid to make its stuff. So if the brain thinks that you have low thyroid, if it interprets that you have low thyroid, it should be making high amounts of TSH. In other words, if it thinks things are low, it should start screaming at your thyroid to make more thyroid, and that would result in a high TSH, okay? So if TSH is high, most doctors will take that as a sign that you have low thyroid, even if your actual T4 thyroid is in normal range, all right? Now, there is a problem with how we decide what normal levels are, okay? So TSH, most laboratories are still reporting that a level is normal if it's somewhere around 0.8 all the way up to about 4.4 or 5. However, a number of years ago, there were studies done trying to relook at that normal range. And what was done in these studies is, or the way that a normal is determined with most labs, is we take a bunch of people and we draw their blood. And we look at what levels do they have. And we artificially decide that 95% of people are normal. And the 2.5% that are low and the 2.5% that are high, we call abnormal. It's an artificial determination, okay? All right. So they had pulled a bunch of people off the street and decided that 95% of people fell within that range of about 0.8 to 4.5 on their TSH, and they decided that was normal, all right? Now the problem, and this was people that were known not to have thyroid illness. However, there have been subsequent studies done by looking at people that were defined as not having thyroid problems because they didn't have thyroid symptoms and they had no other evidence of thyroid. And if we took those people and we scanned their thyroid using ultrasound, we could find that they had slightly enlarged thyroid, suggesting they have thyroid illness, all right? So what was done in subsequent studies is there were x-rays done of the thyroid, ultrasounds done of the thyroid, and anyone that was found to have a swollen thyroid was removed. And when we do that, we find that normal TSHs are actually at about 2.5 or lower, okay? So problem is most doctors are still using the old standards. Labs still promote the old standards, but the American College of Pathology a number of years ago said this needs to be changed. It should be 2.5 or less. And that is what I actually follow. So if anyone's got a TSH over 2.5, even if they have a normal T4 thyroid level, I'm going to give thyroid. I'm going to support the thyroid gland. I'm either going to use herbs that support the thyroid gland, or I'm actually going to do thyroid replacement, okay? All right. So first of all, make sure that the TSH was interpreted correctly. Anything over 2.5 actually means low thyroid, okay? All right. Okay, then the other thing that you need to do with the thyroid panel, your thyroid gland actually makes a number or two major thyroid hormones. One is T4, the other one is T3. I think it's around 90% is T4 and about 10% is T3, all right? The differences between T4 and T3 are two major ones. Number one, T4 has 4 pieces of iodine on it, and T3 has 3. That's why they're called T4 and T3, all right? Now, again, the majority that's made is T4. The active form of thyroid, the part of the thyroid that actually makes us run is actually T3. And what happens is after both T4 and T3 are released from the thyroid gland, they go out to our tissues. A lot of them go to the liver where they kind of are processed initially, but the others all go to the cells where they are processed too. In the cells and in the liver, the T4 is converted into T3. And it's T3 that actually is the active variety of thyroid. Okay. Now, one of the things that can happen when you have low thyroid illness, or when you have a fatiguing illness, or something like chronic Lyme, something like that, one of the things that might happen is the body may try to one of our protective mechanisms is to go into hibernation. So one of the things that can happen is the body may take all that T4, instead of allowing it to go into T3, it may turn it into something else, which is called reverse T3, all right? Because the body, when we're under attack and we're not doing well, may try to make us hibernate so that we preserve our resources. In other words, it makes us sleepy and fatigued so that we don't do as much activities to preserve our resources, all right? So that T4 can either go into T3, which we want it to do, or if our brain is trying to slow us down, it might go over here into reverse T3, all right? We need to measure to see if you have high reverse T3. So a full thyroid panel should do at least TSH, free T4, free T3, and measure if you have reverse T3. And if you have elevated reverse T3, that means the body is trying to shunt you away from being awake. It's trying to make you into hibernation. And in that kind of a situation, you want to give some T3 with either compounded T3 or something called cytomel, which is also a form of T3, okay? All right. Now, most doctors don't measure reverse T3, and most doctors are wrongly interpreting the TSH. They, again, are looking at TSHs of normal if your levels are greater than or not less than 4.4 or 4.5, okay? Okay, finally, a full thyroid panel ought to look to see if you have autoimmune illness of thyroid, and that is to measure something called thyroid antibodies. And one of those is something called TPO antibodies, all right? So when I'm looking to see if somebody has thyroid illness, I'm actually measuring something called TPO antibodies. I'm measuring free T4, free T3, TSH, and reverse T3, all right? So those are the minimum things that you ought to do, all right? So there's more I could say about thyroid. It's all very complicated. What I'm going to do is I'm going to steer you to the article I've written that you can take a look at, okay? All right, let me go ahead and do a quick screen share and I'll show you where you can find that. All right, so take a look at my section on hormones right here. And this is my discussion of thyroid. It's called Hypothyroidism, the Best Test, Meds, and Vitamins, okay? All right, good luck to you, Lisa. Hello, Doug. Hi, Dr. Ross. Thank you for your tremendous insight and advice always. Do otoba bark and cat's claw cross the blood-brain barrier? If not, what herbals do you recommend for Lyme that do cross the barrier? Okay, so there have been no studies done that I am aware of, and I'm aware of a lot of studies, okay? You guys know me by now to know that I'm looking into things quite often, but I am not aware of any studies that have been done proving which herbal antibiotics actually cross the blood-brain barrier, including the otoba and cat's claw. What I can tell you, though, is that I think they do. And the reason I can tell you that is I've had a number of people I've treated with severe neurologic central nervous system Lyme using just otoba and cat's claw, and they've gotten better. So I have to assume that it is crossing over into the blood-brain barrier, or crossing over the blood-brain barrier into the brain, okay? There you go. All right. Thanks for that question, Doug. Hello, Luke. Hey, Dr. Ross. I've been treating since February with an LMD. Oh, I think we answered this one earlier. Luke, it looks like you posted it twice. And it's like, Kelly, it looks like you asked your question twice too. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's see. All right. Hello, Brandy. Let's see. Adrenal support. Question mark. I'm not sure what the question is, other than maybe how you do adrenal support. So when it comes to supporting the adrenals, so the adrenals, everyone, are a hormone system that sit on top of your kidneys. And they manufacture a number of things. One is cortisol, which is a steroid. And another one is it releases something called mineral corticoids. And mineral corticoids direct the kidneys to hold more sodium in your bloodstream and other minerals. Now, those mineral corticoids, if they work correctly and help your kidneys hold more sodium in your bloodstream, that can keep your blood pressure elevated, right? Now, if your adrenals are stressed, if they're fatigued, you may not have adequate production of mineral corticoids, which can result in less sodium being held in your blood system. If there isn't as much sodium in the blood system, or wherever sodium is in the body, water migrates there, okay? So if you don't have as much sodium attracting water into your blood vessels, that can cause you to have low blood pressure, or it might make it so you get lightheaded easily when you stand up, okay? Cortisol, if it's low, makes it so your immune system doesn't work quite as well and can give you low energy. So symptoms I'm thinking of that can suggest adrenal fatigue or that the adrenals are stressed are getting lightheaded easily on standing. The other one can be a lot of afternoon crashing compared to the morning, okay? If people have those, even without doing any testing, I'm usually going to work to support the adrenal glands. My favorite herb to support the adrenal glands is something called ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an herb that comes to us out of Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine. It has been shown for thousands of years in those traditions to give people better energy when they're under stress. I have not seen human studies on it, but I have seen animal studies. And what those animal studies tell us is that the adrenal glands function better, and also the thyroid works better when people use ashwagandha. So my recommended dosing on it, if you should have adrenal fatigue, and also I like to use ashwagandha as, excuse me, as something known as an adaptogen, which helps the body deal with stress in general. It's built into my Ross Lyme support protocol too. If you've looked at that, you'll know I recommend it as something called an adaptogen. Typically, it comes as a 400 to 500 milligram pill, depending on which brand you're using. I like using an organic India brand, and that comes as a 400 milligram pill. And I have people take 2 pills in the morning and 2 pills between 1 and 2. The reason I don't have them take it later than 1 to 2 is in some people it can be stimulating and actually keep them awake, okay? Now, there's one big drawback to ashwagandha for some people. So ashwagandha technically is in a family of plants called the nightshades. And nightshades can sometimes lead to more inflammation. So tomatoes are nightshade, potatoes are nightshade, eggplant is nightshade. Those type of things may lead to more inflammation. So what I tell people to do with their ashwagandha is to try it. If they get more inflamed, you may want to think about a different way of supporting the adrenals, okay? Other ways that you could support the adrenals include using rhodiola. Cordyceps can be ways of supporting them too. The reason I don't necessarily recommend those is that both the cordyceps and the rhodiola are energetically hot herbs. And that means that they may provoke anxiety. They may make a person feel very jittery or shaky. I don't find that to be the situation with ashwagandha. Okay? All right. Thanks for that question. Good luck to you, Brandy. Oh, let me just show you one thing too. Do a quick screen share here. All right, so in terms of adrenals and in terms of ashwagandha, take a look at my section here in my online Lyme guide called Hormones. And if for a discussion of thyroid and adrenals, you can take a look at this article called Heat Up, Speed Up Thyroid and Adrenals in Lyme. Okay. And here is an article that I have written about ashwagandha as well, too. All right. Good luck to you, Brandy. Hello, Marie Eve. Hold on here just a minute. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Is it possible to be intoxicated by radiation or radioactive elements? I read this could affect white and red blood cells, immunity, etc. Harder to treat Lyme in this case. What can be done to treat this radiation? I heard niacin, B3 help or clay. I honestly don't know. I haven't looked at the issues of radiation or radioactive elements in terms of my approach to Lyme. I haven't had to deal with that with somebody before. It's something I would have to investigate a little bit further. Even if I had somebody with it, I would take time to investigate a little bit more. So I don't consider myself a good source on that for you. Sorry about that. Take care. Hello, Marty. I like your name. Let's see. Dear Dr. Ross, stress has increased, and I find that the old symptom had popped up again when my skin feels like I got a minor sunburn at the beach, tingling all over. What can I take? Ashwagandha does not seem to do it. Let's see. And I find that the old symptom had popped up again when the skin feels like I got a minor sunburn at the beach, tingling all over. All right. So that sunburn feeling is a neurologic irritation feeling, okay, or neurologic injury symptom. Tingling is too. We do know that if you have an underlying neurologic issue of any kind, that may have been under good control, whenever you have stress, it makes any underlying condition that might be well controlled in the neurologic system suddenly start having symptoms, okay? So a first approach that I would suggest for you is try to figure out what you're going to do with that stress. If that means starting meditation, if it means exercising a bit more if you can, if it means doing whatever it's going to take to deal with that stress, even seeing a counselor perhaps, that would be a frontline treatment option for you, okay? Other things that you can do in terms of managing the sensations would be herbal. You could take something called l-theanine. L-theanine is a component of green tea that in the brain is converted into a chemical called GABA. Our brain and nerve cells are full of receptors called GABA receptors. And if we give more GABA to a GABA receptor, it can calm irritation and agitation, like the burning sensations that you're getting. In addition, L-theanine seems to help people relax as well too. A good dose for L-theanine comes as a 100 milligram pill. And if I'm going to use it for nerve pain and I'm going to use it to help a person relax, I'm usually going to start at 1 pill 3 times a day. And I might work up to a total of 400 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay. So that's something you can take for the symptom. The other thing I would look at, though, is if this is more than just anxiety causing this, I would think of what germs can be affecting your nerves this way. Lyme can and Bartonella can. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Marty. Hello, Heather. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Thank you for doing these. You're welcome. I have a significant amount of upper body pain. I relapsed with Lyme 3 years ago and have been treating since. I've been diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia and TMJ. I also have severe neck pain that I go to PT for and the chiropractor. Nothing is helping, but I have found that when I'm on doxycyline that my pain is much better, especially when combined with medical marijuana. I know doxy is used for inflammatory diseases at a lower dose because it lowers some cytokines. Is it advisable to keep someone with Lyme on a low dose of doxy to keep inflammation and pain down? I can't tolerate turmeric or curcumin for inflammation. So most antibiotics, including the tetracyclines, can be anti-inflammatory in addition to killing germs. In situations like this, before necessarily leaving somebody on an antibiotic to be anti-inflammatory, I would try other anti-inflammatory methods first. So curcumin, which you can't tolerate, is one option. Another thing that can lower cytokines is the herb quercetin. Quercetin is a bioflavonoid that comes from onions. It also is useful at lowering histamine levels as well too. But I would do that as 250 milligrams 3 times a day. The other thing you could try is the prescription medicine called Plaquenil, which many of you are familiar with in Lyme because we use it to change acid levels in cells so that some of our antibiotics work better. It's a quinine-like medicine that has gotten some notoriety because of coronavirus and does have some evidence that it might help in early Lyme, or an early corona, probably not helpful in people that have been hospitalized or get to that point. But if people take it early in the course of their illness, it seems to prevent, based on research, does seem to prevent the corona from getting bad. Okay, so you might have heard it from that kind of a situation as well too. But Plaquenil is most often used by rheumatologists because it helps control inflammation. And if you were to use it to control inflammation, you could use it as a 200 milligram pill, and you could take that twice a day. Okay, so you could either go herbal, look at the quercetin, you could look at the Plaquenil, which is prescription, and if all of those fail, then sometimes I will use antibiotics as my anti-inflammatory. Okay, all right. Good luck to you, Heather. Hello, Elise. Let's see. Does LDN, low dose naltrexone, help strengthen the immune system? Yeah, it could. Let me talk about that real quickly. So naltrexone, and I've got a whole article about this too, Elise. I'll show it to you here in the end. So naltrexone, everyone, is a narcotic blocker. It's manufactured as a 50 milligram pill, and it's used to treat people that have narcotic overdoses. Okay, that's what it was manufactured for. When we use it as low-dose naltrexone, we don't dose it at 50 milligrams. We dose it anywhere from about 1.5 up to 4.5 milligrams. And here's why we do that. So our body has its own natural narcotic system. Those are called endorphins, all right? We manufacture endorphins. They help regulate pain, but they also regulate the immune system. When we block the endorphin receptors with naltrexone, which is, it does block the endorphin receptors, there's a couple things that happen. Number one, the brain doesn't like it. The brain starts sending out a bunch of signals to the endorphin producing cells in the body to make more endorphins to overcome the blockade. Second thing that happens is those endorphin receptors become more sensitive to the remaining endorphins that are out there. Okay. Now, when the endorphin blockade wears away, when the low-dose naltrexone breaks free of binding up those receptors, suddenly those receptors get flooded with all these extra endorphins that have been produced, and they're more sensitive to those endorphins. And that can have an effect of modulating and regulating an immune system that is attacking us, okay? So it's probably better in people that have an autoimmune component to their Lyme, where the immune system has turned on them and is attacking them, leading to inflammation and leading to problems, all right? So in that sense, it's quote unquote strengthening the immune system, but mostly in situations that are related to autoimmune components to the illness, okay? For instance, I would not use it as a way of boosting your immune system to fight coronavirus. I don't think that's an effective way. I don't think it would be effective against that. All right. So let me show you an article, everyone, that you can take a look at if you want to read more information about low-dose naltrexone. So you can find my article, low-dose naltrexone in the immune system. And it's this one called LDN for Lyme, okay? All right. Good luck to you, Lise. Thanks for the question. Hello, Tracy. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. There are practitioners who believe an MTHFR mutation can lead to reduced immune function and therefore higher risk related to COVID-19. What are your thoughts on this? And is the reduced immune function believed to be the result of the C677T mutation, or could it also be the result of the A1298C mutation? So I have not seen any information that suggests that an MTHFR leads to immune dysfunction. I am not aware of any science that supports that claim. What I do know is that for some people with an MTHFR mutation, they might develop detoxification problems. And it is possible, if they do have detoxification problems, that could lead to buildup of toxins and therefore dysfunction of the body in general, including the immune cells. Okay, so it's possible. All right. The issue is you can have these MTHFR mutations, which is a genetic issue, and still not have a functional detox problem. Let me talk to you about that. So MTHFR, everyone, stands for something called methytetrahydrofolate reductase. Big word, okay? That reductase, that last word that I use, methytetrahydrofolate reductase, whenever anything in medicine terminology ends in the letters ASE, ACE, it means it's an enzyme, okay? So this enzyme is responsible for taking diet folate and converting it into activated folate. And we need to activate dietary folate into a methyl form of folate to begin the process of something called the methylation detox cycle. Okay, it's kind of like the first step. There's many steps in the methylation detox cycle, but downstream, after many of these steps, there is the production of glutathione, which is the master detox chemical that's used by the liver and is used by every one of our cells to do detoxification, okay? Now, right after we produce the methylated folate, about one or two chemical reactions down the line, one of the detox processes is supposed to help remove homocysteine or decrease homocysteine levels. If we don't have enough of the methylated folate, downstream, we don't get reduction of homocysteine, it actually becomes elevated. So a measurable outcome that we can look at as to whether our MTHFR genetic mutations are creating a problem is, do we have elevated homocysteine levels? All right. So I no longer just treat based on a genetic mutation suggesting you might not have correct functioning of the enzyme. I now only treat for MTHFR mutation difficulties if there is a proof that it has interfered with the detoxification processes, and that's by measuring homocysteine levels, okay? Let me say a little bit more about that. So a number of years ago, all of us were just thrilled when we could start measuring all these genetic abnormalities. Genetic SNPs is what they're called, okay? And for this MTHFR, we can measure something called the A1298C gene, see if there's a mutation there, and we can measure whether there's mutation at the C677T gene. And what we're doing with these measurements is we're looking to see, is there a genetic problem in the gene from your mom or the gene from your dad? So you can have two problems at the A1298C, and you can have two problems at the C677T gene, all right? Now, if you have genetic programming errors, that means that this enzyme may turn out functioning incorrectly or be formed incorrectly. And if it's not functioning or formed incorrectly, it may make it so it's not converting enough of your diet folate into the activated folate. But that's only part of the story. The other part of the story begins with our gut microbiome. And we're now starting to understand that all these bacteria that we let inhabit in our gut provide valuable function for us. And they may make up for some of our genetic programming errors. Let me put it in context with you. I think I saw a study one time that said about 90% of the genetic material in our bodies is actually made up of the organisms that are in our gut, including the bacteria, viruses that cohabitate with us, parasites, yeast that cohabitate with us there. All that stuff that we let live in our gut makes up about 90% of our genetic material. And we let them live there for a reason. It's not that they are like parasiting off of us. No, we want them there. We invite them to live there. We want them there because all those germs are doing something for us. So for instance, we know that the gut microbiome provides a lot of valuable signals. Those bacteria send a lot of valuable messengers to our immune system, so the immune system works well. All right. We know that gut microbiome is involved in detoxing, pulling toxins out, that it may remove things we're allergic to. That gut microbiome is useful at helping with digestion. All right. And it's very possible that gut microbiome makes up the materials that we're missing when our genetic programming of our MTHFR is incorrect. All right. So I no longer treat just based on MTHFR genetic abnormalities. I want to see proof that there's a functional problem. And so what I do is I measure the homocysteine. If the homocysteine is normal, I'm probably, even in somebody that might have 2 mutations on the C677T and 2 mutations on the A1298C, suggesting they really should have a problem. Even in that kind of situation, if that homocysteine is normal, I'm not going to treat for it. Okay. Thanks for your question, Tracy. Good luck to you. Hello, Chris. Let's see. How long does a typical Bartonella patient remain on rifampin and clarithromycin before cured? If the patient also has yeast, how long does the patient remain on diflucan? Thanks, Chris. So, when I put somebody on a regimen to treat for Bartonella, whatever 2 or sometimes even 3 prescription antibiotics I put them on, I want to start seeing reduction in the Bartonella symptoms that they have by at least 2 months. If not, it means that treatment regimen probably is not working, and I want to change by either adding another agent or going to an entirely different 2 antibiotic regimen, okay? Now, if you find that your Bartonella regimen is helping your Bartonella symptoms by 2 months, but you're not all the way well, then usually I will treat up to 6 months with a regimen. Kind of general guideline, okay? Now, there are some people we have to treat longer, but I want to see that they're progressively getting better as I keep prescribing, okay? So I follow Bartonella symptoms. What do I follow? Well, typical Bartonella symptoms can be pain on the soles of the feet. Bartonella can give a lot of neuropsych issues like depression and anxiety. So if somebody's got a lot of depression and anxiety, I'm going to follow those as part of the treatment. Bartonella can give a lot of neurologic problems, like it can give severe cognitive issue, thinking problems, okay? It might give people numbness. It might give people a lot of neurologic pain. And a peculiar symptom that some people with Bartonella have is they might feel like they're buzzing or vibrating, all right? So I'm going to follow those symptoms. And I want to start seeing that by at least 2 months into treatment. If the treatment's working, I want to make sure that those symptoms are starting to decline. Not gone, but declining by that time, okay? In terms of treating yeast, typically if diflucan is going to help, usually 1 month is enough. Sometimes I might use up to 2 months depending on what's happening. But I'm going to check in with the patient at a month to see whether we need to use more or not, okay? All right. Thanks for that question, Chris. Chris, one thing you should know too, just to be careful with, both diflucan and rifampin can lead to liver inflammation. And so definitely if somebody is on both of those after a month of being on them, I want to get blood testing to see Is there any liver inflammation going on? Have they added together to cause a severe liver inflammation, for instance? Okay. All right. Hello, Lynn. Let's see here. My son had chronic Lyme for years as a small child through middle school. Now he's 20 and recently had a lung partial collapse from a spontaneous pneumothorax. Is there any way that could be connected to tick stuff? He also had BART and BABS. Thanks. So, spontaneous pneumothorax, which means that there is air that leaked into the space between the lung lining and your ribs. Okay. That spontaneous pneumothorax, I have never seen any evidence in any studies that that is related to tick-borne illness or to Babesia or Bartonella, which are all tick-borne illnesses as well too. So I'm not aware of that. All right. I'm not saying it can't be. I don't think anyone's described it that I'm aware of. Okay. All right. Thanks for that question. Good luck to your son. Let's see, from Lynn again. Also, do you know of any treatments to prevent another episode of pneumothorax? Off the top of my head, I don't. It's something I would have to look into. All right. Thanks for the question. Hello, Kelly. Let's see. Started a month ago with low dose naltrexone. I'm up to 1.5. It's making me exhausted. I tried to switch to the day, but it made me feel drunk also and just off. I switched back and I'm taking it again at night again. But by noon the next day, I'm tired. Any thoughts? Do I need to move up to a higher or go lower? Not really feeling much on it so far, but was put on it to help modulate my immune system. So Kelly, unfortunately, I think you're having a side effect. One of the side effects that can happen with the low-dose naltrexone is fatigue. And it is not something I find that lifts when you go to higher doses. Sometimes it will lift if you go to a lower dose, like you could try to do this at a 0.5 milligrams, for instance, to see if you'll tolerate it. But I'm doubtful that you're ever going to get above the 1.5 milligrams. You could still get benefits still at a 0.5 milligram dose, though. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. Hello, Angela. See, I have some muscle pain and was on fluconazole with no issues, and now on itraconazole, rifampin, doxycyline, and clarithromycin. My assumption is that it's the itraconazole. So the way that I kind of my rule of thumb when I'm trying to, or my approach when I'm trying to figure out if somebody's having a side effect from something, is if somebody develops a new symptom, I always look back to see, did they recently add something? And was it going on before I added that something? Okay. Now, there's a rule of medicine that I have, which is anything can happen to anyone with anything. And what I mean by that is if you read about itraconazole, I don't think I've ever seen muscle pain described. Maybe it's there. I'm not quite sure. But off the top of my head, I'm not sure that it is. But even if it is not described as a common symptom, that doesn't mean that you could not have developed it, because we all can develop reactions to any kind of medicine, okay? So again, the general rule of thumb I have, though, is to always look back and say, was this going on before I added this new medicine, okay? And if it wasn't, I'm going to stop that new medicine and see if that problem goes away. I might even try to put them back on that new medicine again if it does go away, to kind of see, are they still going to have that problem, okay? All right. Thanks for the question, Angela. Hi, Joyce. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Can you speak to the use of ashwagandha for Lyme, for energy, etc.? Which form do you think is best, extract or tablet? I'm always tired. Also, would you speak to your opinion of powder versus liquid extract of cat's claw in terms of effectiveness? Thank you, as always. All right. So first of all, my preference for herbal antibiotics is to use tinctures versus powder. I just think that the extracts are stronger. The alcohol-based extracts are stronger, which is the liquid, at pulling out the active chemicals that you want to pull out so that you get the best part of the plant that's going to work for you, okay? In terms of ashwagandha, I don't find that either the extract or tablet work any differently. I do think the tablets are easier to take. And so generally, I recommend the tablets on that one. In terms of, let me just see here just a minute. Oh, in terms of always being tired, so my approach to fatigue always is try to get the Lyme germs under control, lower cytokines, because as many of you know, if you participate in webinars, I talk about cytokines a lot. Actually, I haven't talked about them tonight, but let me talk about cytokines real quickly. So your white blood cells, when they see Lyme in you or see mold toxins in you or see yeast in you, try to get rid of them. And they manufacture a bunch of chemicals called cytokines. And cytokines are good and bad. Good side, they turn the immune system on. On the bad side, they're inflammatory. They also can disturb your sleep centers, leading to insomnia. They can make it so you can't think. They make your muscles weak. They can give you fatigue. They interfere with how your hormonal system works, okay? So one of the things you want to do as an approach to fatigue is lower cytokines. And I like using liposomal curcumin to do that. The product I like for that is Mariva 500 SF made by Thorne, 1 pill 3 times a day, okay? Second thing I like to do when somebody is fatigued, I like to support their adrenal glands and their thyroid, and that's to use ashwagandha, all right? Now, I will do that in addition to making sure they're eating a healthy diet, trying to kill their germs, making sure they get enough sleep. Okay, don't forget to sleep 7 to 9 hours. If you have to take things to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, do it. Take things, okay? Because that's going to help your fatigue as well, too. But if I've done all that, and it's 6 to 9 months into treatment, and we're still not making headway, then my next step is to try to take steps to repair the energy factories in the body, which are called mitochondria. All right. So every one of our cells has an energy factory system. They're called mitochondria. All right. And each cell has 300 to 400 mitochondria. And what happens is inside of these mitochondria, sugar and fat are burned through a bunch of chemical reactions to create cell fuel, which is something called ATP. All right. Now, when you have chronic infection, one of the things that can happen is, as a result of chronic infection, your immune system, in addition to making cytokines, is often making a lot of oxidizing agents to poison the germs. These oxidizing agents can damage membranes in the body, fat membranes, including your nerve cell membranes, your cell membranes, and the mitochondria membrane. So the mitochondria covering is made up of a double layer of fat, made up of a type of fat called phospholipids. And if those phospholipids get injured, there's a couple problems that develop. Number one, those phospholipids, you need to have healthy phospholipids to carry fat and sugar to the inside to be burned into cell fuel. In addition, that healthy covering of the mitochondria donates electrons to the chemical reactions that create cell fuel. And if that covering is injured, you don't get adequate electron donation. Therefore, you get sluggish energy generation, okay? So the other thing I would do, in addition to lowering cytokines, getting sleep, being on ashwagandha, treating your germs, I would consider adding in phospholipid repair. And the product I like for that these days is a product by Research Nutritionals called ATP 360. It's made up of the phospholipid fats that make up the covering of your mitochondria. And you want to do 3 pills 1 time a day. Keep in mind, though, that if you happen to be on atovaquone, Mepron, or Malarone, that the CoQ10 that is found as part of ATP 360 may interfere with how they function. If that's the case, instead of using ATP 360 to do your phospholipid repair, in those situations, I'll use another product which is called NT factor, okay? And NT factor is the same, a different kind of phospholipids, but a different mix of phospholipids, I should say. But it doesn't include any coenzyme Q10 in it. And if you're to do that, you want to start at 2 pills 3 times a day. Okay? All right. So phospholipid repair either with NT factor or with ATP 360. You can use the ATP 360, is the easiest actually, as long as you're not on malarone, or something called atovaquone, which is found in mepron and malarone. All right. I think that's it. Let's see. Yeah, anyhow, there you go. All right. One other thing about mitochondrial repair, I always like to include glutathione in my protocol. Glutathione lowers oxidizing agents inside cells and is the master reparative, restorative antioxidant used in the mitochondria and in our cells too. I like using the Research Nutritionals product, which is called Trifortify. It's a liposomal product because it has good absorption. They've got studies proving it's well absorbed, and you want to do 1 teaspoon of it 1 time a day. All right. So take a look. If you want more information about this and even some additional steps you can take for mitochondrial repair, I'm going to do a quick screen share here. All right, so there in the energy and fatigue chapter, there's 2 articles you might want to look at. One is this steps to fix fatigue and boost energy, okay? And in addition, take a look at this article called How to Fix Mitochondria and Get Energy in Lyme Disease, all right? Both of these would be very helpful for you. All right, let's see here. Hello, S. Tell you what, everyone, my office is getting awful hot here. I got to open up a window. Just bear with me here a minute. Unfortunately, when I open that window, you may hear more street noise. My office is above one of the busier Seattle streets. However, it's we're still in coronavirus shutdown out here, so it shouldn't be too bad. But if you're hearing more street noises, because I just opened up the window, but it was getting a bit hot in here. Okay, all right. Hello, S. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Thanks for all you do for us. You're welcome. Dealing with persistent Lyme, Babesia, and Bartonella with lack of improvement. Ozone UBI therapy has been suggested. What are your thoughts about this type of treatment? I'm not a big believer in ozone and UBI, and let me explain why. So, and I've got a whole article with scientific citations on it if you want to investigate this a little bit further for yourself too, okay? So if we were to, so ozone and UBI are basically oxidation medicine treatments, okay? We use oxidation because it can damage the DNA of germs and it can damage the covering of the germs. In theory, we should be protected from that damage, but they may also damage our cells too. The thing that makes us different than bacteria is our cells all have antioxidants in them, and our blood is full of antioxidants to protect us against the damage that can occur to our cells from ozone and UBI, okay? But here's the problem. So if we look at ozone and we look at test tubes full of germs and we put ozone in those test tubes, we will kill all the germs. And so because of that, many practitioners think, aha, it's best germ killer. I can inject you with it. I can have you take ozone steam and we're going to get germ killing. All right. However, there's been studies done looking at what happens with germ killing if you take just a small amount of blood and also add it to that test tube. So if you put like a small drop, just minimal amounts of blood in that test tube, and then you add ozone, there is actually no killing that takes place at all. None. Okay. All right. So and here's why. Your blood is full of antioxidants, and those antioxidants would probably neutralize the ozone and the UBI almost right away. Therefore, I don't actually think we get any germ killing. Now, people do describe feeling better, and I hope you heard the word I said, feeling better, when they get these types of treatments. And there's maybe a reason for that. It does appear that these treatments result in better oxygenation, oxygen burst within your mitochondria. And if you have more oxygen in a mitochondria, that's going to allow them to create better energy more efficiently, okay? So I do believe that people may feel better when they get ozone, and they may feel better from UBI therapy, but it's probably because it's giving a quick boost to mitochondria functioning. But I'm worried when people do this repeatedly that all these oxidizing agents that they're taking may be leading to cell damage within their immune system, maybe their own cells, maybe their neurologic tissue as well too. And we have no long-term safety studies about what repeated ozonation and UBI therapy do, okay? Now, I know that there are tons of practitioners out there. It seems doctors right and left are adding this into their practices these days. But when I look at the science on this, I am extremely skeptical, especially based on those Petri dish experiments. And the other thing I would say too is I have had people that have undergone lots of ozone treatment and other practices. And in the end, they stop improving often. And in the end, we need to get back to doing germ killing with either herbal or prescription antibiotics. And that is because I don't think that the treatments last, because at a point, even after you got the mitochondria working better, eventually the germ effects are going to step back in again and start harming a person, okay? All right, let me show you the article that you can take a look at that has citations about all these points that I just made, okay? So here's the article called Ozone, Hydrogen Peroxide, Vitamin C, UV, Blood Irradiation, and Lyme. Okay, it goes through all the points that I just made with even greater detail, okay? The other thing you can do is, if you want the proof about what I'm talking about, take a look at the various citations that I have down here as well too, okay? All right. S, thank you for that question. Good luck to you. Hello, Chris. Hi, Dr. Marty. Since antibiotics destroy the good bacteria in your intestines, does this compromise the immune system? Thanks, Chris in Florida. The answer is it could. The problem is we don't really know. So this whole area of the gut microbiome and how it is beneficial to us, and the damages that we can do and how they impact the immune system, et cetera, is really just starting to come of age and just starting to get a lot of research. What I can tell you from this is that, yes, the microbiome does send signals that tell your immune system to work correctly. I have seen one study that suggests that I think even after a 10-day course of antibiotics, that you'll have changes in the makeup of the bacteria of the gut microbiome for even 4 years later, okay? All right. So when we use antibiotics, we need to think carefully about what we're doing, right? It's a matter of weighing risk and benefits. On the one hand, if you've got Lyme, Bartonella, or Babesia that are growing like crazy, causing significant dysfunction, then you probably need to use antibiotics and risk harm to the gut microbiome. Herbal antibiotics can also enter the gut microbiome, but my experience is probably not to the same degree. The difficulty with herbal antibiotics, though, with the exception of otoba and cat's claw that I like using for Lyme, herbal antibiotic approaches for Bartonella and herbal antibiotic approaches for Babesia have a slight decreased chance of working compared to the prescriptions, okay? But you have to weigh out risk and benefits here, okay? So you could say, I'm never going to use an antibiotic because I don't want to hurt the bacteria in my gut. But if you have Lyme raging through you and Bartonella raging through you, guess what? You're probably going to need to use antibiotics to get them under control and risk harm to the gut, okay? That's the unfortunate balance that we're living with. All right. Thanks for that question, Chris. Hello, Kelly. Let's see. Can you use both biocidin and biocidin LSF or just one or the other? You can use both. You may need to do some dosing adjustments. So biocidin LSF, the LSF means it's a liposomal formulation. It means it's microscopically wrapped in fat with the intention that it's going to increase absorption into your bloodstream. So therefore, I consider it to be better at treating Lyme that is in you, okay? Biocidin liquid and biocidin capsules are not liposomal. And those forms of the germ, those forms of the medication probably are not as well absorbed, although they can be absorbed into the bloodstream, but not as well absorbed. And I tend to use them more for GI disturbances like yeast in the intestines or small intestine bacteria overgrowth, okay? Because there's some evidence that both can help with those, all right? Now, if I have somebody that has Lyme and I'm also wanting to treat yeast, you could use the biocidin LSF at the 2 pumps 3 times a day that I recommend, okay? And then in terms of the yeast, you could also use the capsule forms that I recommend. However, if you're doing that because some of the capsule will be herbs in the capsules will be absorbed into the bloodstream, you might want to modify, instead of doing 2 of the biocidin LSF pumps 3 times a day, you might want to do 1 pump 3 times a day. All right, you might. There's no one that's done dosing studies to know the impact of what happens when you take the pill liquid form or the LSF form together, how much more it gets absorbed into the bloodstream than if you just use LSF by itself. We don't know. All right. Thanks for that question, Kelly. Hello, Brandy. Let's see. How do you start treatment to kill pathogens when at baseline with no treatment and clean diet, the liver is inflamed and running max capacity? So, Brandy, so first of all, make sure that you've investigated for why your liver may be inflamed. And so just because somebody has Lyme disease, we can't put our Lyme blinders on and forget to look for other things going on, all right? So at a minimum, you should have studies done. Somebody should have done studies to see if you have hepatitis B infection or hepatitis type C infection. Those are viruses that can inflame your liver. In addition, if you are drinking in any way, that could be leading to your elevated enzymes. All right. Now, if those are all normal, and you're not doing that, you're not drinking alcohol, and you don't have hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection of your liver, then I have found at times, even with elevated liver numbers, I will start to treat for Lyme anyhow. And I have seen those liver numbers get better, because I also think that Lyme, based on this happening a few times in my practice, I think that Lyme can also be a cause of liver inflammation. So you can have a Lyme hepatitis, okay? Now, if I am going to use medicines to treat Lyme and somebody has liver inflammation, I am not going to put them on a metronidazole or tinidazole that can inflame the liver. I'm not going to put them on a diflucan to treat their yeast that can inflame the liver. I'm going to purposely avoid those medicines. I'm also going to purposely avoid rifampin. Those are the big ones that can inflame the liver, okay? And instead, I'm going to use ones that aren't going to inflame or tend not to inflame the liver, like your tetracyclines or your macrolides or a grapefruit seed extract, okay? Those are antibiotics that are going to tend not to inflame the liver, all right? So that's my thoughts. Test to make sure it isn't something else. If you don't find another cause for those elevated liver numbers, realize that it could be coming from Lyme and jump in and start treating your Lyme, but avoid the antibiotics that I just told you about that can lead to liver inflammation. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Brandy. Thanks for that question. Hello, Brittany. Let's see. If you have Lyme and co-infections, would you recommend boosting your immune system first or start treating first? So I would recommend doing a treatment that does both. All right. So if you take a look at the Ross Lyme support protocol, the protocol includes how do you kill the germ, but steps that you take to support the body that all collectively add together to support the immune system. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to show you the Ross Lyme support protocol. Let me do a quick screen share here for that. All right, so that's right here under this treatment protocol tab. All right, so these steps are designed basically to help support the immune system and to treat the Lyme. All right, so number one, getting sleep helps reduce cytokine inflammation, and reducing cytokine inflammation helps your immune system work better. Also, getting sleep helps your immune system work better. So do whatever it takes to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you got to use prescriptions or herbs to do it, I give you recommendations here, okay? Second thing I recommend is to try at the beginning to do a pretty clean diet. I give you a couple ideas here, but cleaning up your diet may help your immune system work better. Part 3 is lower cytokines. Again, cytokines are made in excess in Lyme. I give you a number of ways to lower them, but lowering cytokines helps your immune system work better. Number 4, be on an adaptogen. An adaptogen like ashwagandha can help your immune system work better. Correct hormonal problems. Doing so helps your immune system work better. Be on a good multivitamin. Give your immune system the nutrient it needs to work. Detox, because if you're having too much toxin buildup, you may have ineffective immune function. Exercise if you can, but often you need to wait until later in treatment to do that. And then I don't do specific immune boosters. As you can see, all those steps I just talked about are ways of boosting your immune system, okay? And then I talk about treating yeast, and then I talk about treating Lyme, and then I talk about doing your co-infections, okay? So other than treating yeast, Lyme, and co-infections, all the other steps that I outline as part of my Ross Lyme support protocol are designed to boost your immune system. All right, that's what I recommend. Good luck to you, Brittany. Hello, Kevin. I've been treating Lyme and Babesia for years with traditional antibiotic approaches, doxy, mepron, etc. That said, I am very excited about the recent developments with disulfiram. This is the first treatment that has made a significant quality of life improvement since I first started doxycyline. However, it has been quite a roller coaster. Are there any general patterns you've seen or additional practices to recommend to follow alongside disulfiram? I'm currently taking 250 milligrams 2 times daily via Entera capsules and notice symptoms flare-ups around aerobic exercise and don't know if some trouble herxing is expected with exercise. Okay. So yes, disulfiram for some is an easy medicine, believe it or not. In fact, I have a lot of people in my practice that are not having any difficulty tolerating it at all. As many of you know, disulfiram is a drug we use to treat alcoholism, but has been shown to treat persister Lyme. I have a whole article on it. I'll show you about that here in a minute. Now, one of the things you have to do with disulfiram is you've got to avoid being on alcohol because it causes a reaction with alcohol that can make you pretty sick. So, Kevin, I assume you know this, but there's the standard foods you need to avoid. You need to avoid alcohol. You need to avoid prepared foods that might have alcohol or vinegar in them. You need to avoid vinegar. You need to avoid fermented foods like kombucha. You should avoid putting any alcohol in your skin that could be absorbed. Anyhow, there's extensive dietary lists that you can find out there that say all the things you need to avoid on disulfiram. All right. The other thing that disulfiram can do is it can sometimes lead to neuropathy. And one of the things that can help limit that neuropathy from happening is to be on a zinc. And so I usually like to have people be on zinc picolinate 30 milligrams at least one time a day, sometimes 60 milligrams, okay? So that's another idea. When I have people on disulfiram, because the amount of killing it does can result in significant herx reactions and increased cytokines. And because it has disulfide bonds that can make it a really effective biofilm breaker. And if you break up biofilms, that's going to trigger potentially bad herx reactions as well too. For those reasons, I try to limit cytokines when I have somebody on it. So at a minimum, I want to have somebody on 500 milligrams 3 times a day of the Thorn Mariva 500, the curcumin. And in addition, I might also have them on glutathione. And I would use glutathione, a liposomal variety like the Trifortify product, and I would do 1 teaspoon of that 1 time a day, or 500 milligrams 1 time a day, okay? Now, I know that there are some that postulate that glutathione may make it so that the disulfiram does not work well. That has not been my experience. I think it's more of a theoretical concern. I have a number of my patients on disulfiram, and I'm getting, along with glutathione, and I'm getting good results with that too, okay? So those will be some things for you to think about, all right? Okay. Good luck to you, Kevin. Let me just do a quick screen share here, everyone. All right, so for information about disulfiram, just do a quick search for it here. This is my article about disulfiram. It's called, "Is Antabuse the Magic Bullet for Chronic Lyme Disease?" And the answer is, for some, yes. For some, it's not. But take a look at this article here, okay? All right. All right, everyone, that is it for me for tonight. I've had a good time being with you again, and I will be back here again next Thursday and the Thursday after that. So we have 2 more Thursdays in June that I will be with you. Keep your eye out tomorrow morning, somewhere in the morning, probably before 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You'll get an email from me announcing that the recording is done. Also, it'll have a sign up that you can use, or links to sign up for the next webinar, okay? And please share the video recording tomorrow with anyone you know that might be interested in it or could be helped by it. And share the fact that I'm doing these webinars with anyone you think they could benefit from it as well too. The more we spread the word as a community, the more that people get help, okay? All right. So good. I'm glad everyone was here tonight. I look forward to helping you next week. And good luck, everyone. Good night.